Jim, can you hear me okay? Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
How's the sound?
All right.
Sound check.
Good evening.
Ciao,
Good,
baby.
good evening, Jim.
Hello.
Hi, Beth.
Hi, Beth.
Hi, Beth.
It forced me to update my Zoom before I could come in.
Yeah, I had to do the same. Looks like we get to see Rebecca tonight.
Hi guys, how are ya?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. Promised myself I would participate more this year finally.
All right, guys. Let's see here.
Suzanne, I'm glad you brought down your highlights a little bit. You were really blown out when you first came on.
Well, I'm blown out all the time anyway, so it's still bad. The lighting, I'm in my dining room. It's like probably the only place I can sit and the light's bad. So,
Well, just get your whites or your highlights slider and turn that.
okay, can I get the like erase button too to get rid of the wrinkles and
Well,
the
that's interesting. Yeah.
bags under my eyes? And
Yep.
okay, sounds good.
Skylum's Neo could do that automatically.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, good idea.
Okay, get rid of my gray hair too. I liked your photos, Jim. I especially like the one of the flamingo.
Yeah, I don't know if I had mentioned to you, but one of my goals that day was to just try to get as many headshots as I could within the zoom capability of the lens that I had, just for something different.
No, I thought they were very nice.
Thanks. I got them out so quickly because Pat and I are leaving for a 1 week babysitting stint, followed by a week at San Antonio. So
Oh, well,
we'll
that
be
sounds
out of
so-
post-processing work here for a few weeks, couple of weeks.
Yeah, I still have a lot to go, and I'm not 100% sure I like the ones I posted. They probably could still use some more work too, but
Oh, did you post some today?
yeah,
I just got back in the house. I guess I haven't seen those.
okay.
I haven't checked in to see what's gotten posted. I'm gonna do a bloopers post.
That doesn't sound good, Beth.
I've got a couple that I like, but I think I've got more bloopers than I have good ones. So like when the sea eagle was taking off, I've got the feet. I've got butts of a couple of birds, things like
Yeah.
that. So
Well, as long as they were sharp, I'd be happy. I,
they're
I
not.
get- I get the feet and the butts and they're out of focus. That's even worse.
There was one bird that was really, really pretty and it never stopped. It was always moving. Every shot I have of it, it's like,
Hmm.
like, thanks.
All right, guys. I'm under the weather again. So
You sound like you're under the weather.
yeah, I have been coughing nonstop for 2 days, and my ribs hurt so bad right now I can hardly breathe.
Wow.
So
Should I put my mask on?
you may need to, yes, as bad as I'm coughing. So I'm not going to do too much talking tonight. I apologize for that. I'm just, the more I talk, the worse it gets, and the more I cough. So I'm just going to kind of keep quiet. I don't have much as far as anything that's upcoming other than what's on the schedule, which is tonight we're supposed to be post-processing workflow, Beth and myself. I'll try to talk a little bit, but it just depends on if I start coughing or not. The SWIG meeting is Photoshop layers, and then you guys did the photo walk already, which y'all were talking about. Is there any show deadline? There's no deadlines this month or anything like that. That's coming up, I believe, right? Mm,
Deadline's in March, but
okay.
early
Okay,
March.
I got it off mute. All right, so yeah, it's gonna start March 30th until April 28th. So that's a little bit different. They waived the fee if we can take some photos of the event. So I'm sure we could get some people to do that. I know we've been kind of laxed about it, but if we want the free shows there at Latrobe, let's try to get some photos done for them.
Marty, I'm sorry, they want photos of our reception event?
No, like Mr. Rogers and
Oh,
Jolly. So if we can get them something. I know it's been hit or miss. But if not, I'll go and do it. I mean, I'll just make arrangements to go. Feel that's better than paying $450 for the show. So a couple photos, I can do that, or we can do that. I'm not going to do it all by myself. We can do that.
well, that was nice of them to reoffer that for us. That's good.
Yes. So the reception, there's a little bit of a problem with the reception date. Typically we do like that Thursday. However, they have some things going, well, no, Thursday's Passover and Friday is Good Friday. They said, how about Tuesday or Wednesday? But they have things going on Tuesday and Wednesday, the 4th and the 5th. So I want to put it out there for everybody. Do you want to do it Saturday, April 1st, or Monday, April 3rd? Because that weekend is Easter weekend, so we don't want to go to the following weekend. Any thoughts? Am I muted? Hello?
I don't know my calendar that far out.
Okay. Well, one is a Saturday and one is a Monday, so just kind of email me your thoughts if you'd like. Drop off is gonna be March 27th and 28th, 10 to 4. And pickup will be April 29th. 10 to 4. So for entries, I have Beth working at Spectus up. We can have at least 3 photos with a max of maybe 5 per person, depending on how many people enter. And then again, you put your name, title, size, price on the back of your photos and you drop them off. I'm going to ask members to help with the food for our reception. So later, look for that. And then John Wakelow, he's offered to do press releases for our shows for me. And I will get him that information as well. But I thank him for helping us do that. So that's my show update. Brian, I sent you a text with a membership letter. You could just say yes or no, is it good or not? So,
Yeah, it's fine.
okay. Awesome.
Marty, do we have, what are the dates for the show at the Latrobe Arts Center?
Yes, the show will run March 31st to April 28th.
Okay,
And the reception's up in the air right now. I'm kind of waiting for input on that.
okay, and it's a little early yet, but about how many images do you think we might end up with? Or do they put a maximum on the number we can
No,
put in?
they don't. Our last show, like at Greensburg Art Center, we had 51. And we had 17, I believe, participate. So it was kind of limited on how many you could submit. So at least 3 per person. And then if you have 4 or 5, those will be the juggling photos. If we have room, we'll put them in. If we don't, we won't. So that type of thing. I'm estimating like 40 to 50 photos.
Okay, sounds good.
I don't
And-
have a name for the show yet. If anybody has any suggestions, I'd be open to them.
All right, but I also take it the show isn't subject oriented. The photographers can submit images on any subject.
Yeah, at this time, yes. I think we get more when we do that. So
Sounds good.
that's all I have on shows.
All right. Thank you, Marty.
You're welcome.
Brian, do you want me to talk a little bit about the photo walk at the prison in March?
Yeah, go right ahead.
I think when those of you who were on, I'm not sure it was the last meeting or 2 meetings ago, we did talk about this, but just to go through it again. So the Crescent Sanatorium and State Prison photo walk, meet at 10 a.m. At the entrance to the prison. So on Sunday, March 19th. You need to purchase your tickets in advance, and you can do that online at www. And this is all one word, bighouseproduce.com. And if those of you are wondering what the hell kind of web address is that for a prison, Big House Produce is a company that raises their own produce. They bought the property and they simply, I'm not sure how many times a year, offer photo tours of the grounds. The tickets, again, you should purchase them in advance online. And you can buy them for 3, 6, or 9-hour passes. My suggestion is, unless you really want to stay there a good bit of the day, that we buy 3-hour passes. But again, you're more than welcome to go with the 6 or the 9 if you want to stay the whole day. The cost is $45 for the 3-hour, $80 for the 6-hour, and $120 for the 9-hour pass. There's no photography limits. You're allowed flash, you're allowed tripods. You're allowed access to all the buildings there. I think there's over 20 buildings on site. So it should be a nice photo walk.
Jim?
Oh, just one more item. Just for rough purposes, from Greensburg to Crescent, which is located right off of 22 before you drop down the Allegheny Plateau into Altoona, it's roughly 60 miles from Greensburg. So you basically an hour from Greensburg. And someone's going to ask a question.
Yeah. You said 10 o'clock. On their site, they say they start at 9.
Well, Beth,
Do
the only
we have
reason
a-
I did 10 is because it's an hour's drive from here, and typically it's difficult to get people in Greensburg at 9 o'clock in the morning.
So they
Um,
don't mind if we show up at 10 and
you
go
could
for
j-
3 hours?
Yeah, you can do your 3 hours anytime during the day. It's not a set
Okay.
time. And actually that brings up I don't know how they actually quote enforce whether, if you're walking around, you have a big sign on you that counts down your 3 hours. I really don't know. It's probably just, your own judgment, I guess, on your 3 hours, but that remains to be seen. I didn't bother investigating that.
And they may give you a cuff to wear. A different color for different hours or something like that.
It's possible, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hooked up to the electric chair.
There you go. That might be appropriate.
Is it the self-guided tour tickets that you get?
It is
Yeah.
self-guided, yes.
Okay, I want to make sure I was getting the right one. Okay.
Yes.
And it's the 19th, the Sunday?
It
Yeah.
is a Sunday, yes.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a Sunday. That's it.
I do have something else. I was looking through Airtable and there are several members that haven't paid their dues yet. So please pay your dues so you can enter into the photo. Yep, the shows. Please pay your dues. Thank you.
And Marty, that is up to date as far as I know.
Okay,
Like I just looked at it and I think it's 100% up to date.
I just had a question on Carolyn.
Carolyn,
Did she pay you at Christmas,
I wasn't at Christmas, so I don't know.
at the Christmas party? Oh, you weren't there. That's okay. Never mind.
Okay. If she paid Marty, I don't know. Or if she paid Margie.
Margie. Okay, I'll find it. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Does anybody else have anything? Nope. All right. Let's do a little critiquing, but can I get a volunteer to lead that a little bit since I shouldn't be talking?
I'll do that for you, Brian. Do
Okay.
you want to start with that?
Yeah, let's do a little bit of critiquing. Beth, how long are you doing? You're doing your workflow tonight, right?
Yeah, I can do it's probably not going to take that long. So, I mean, save maybe 10 to 15 minutes in case somebody's got questions.
Okay. And I'll try to do a little bit of mine. I don't know how much I get through it, but I'll try to do it. So yeah, Jim, go ahead and start.
See my Zoom screen, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can someone help me recall where we were? Um, I guess we were doing would we have done the January photos? Photo contest?
No, we haven't done them yet. I don't think we did. Did we, guys?
No,
We
Yes,
have,
No, because
you could
it
look
just
at them if you
ended.
wanted.
oh, okay, that makes more sense. Okay, because it's yeah, all right. So we'll do January photos.
Yeah, that would work.
Well, actually, before we do the contest photos, maybe we should check to see if there's any that were requesting critiques here recently. Oh, there's Suzanne's that she just submitted from the, we won't critique these, but just since you just posted them, you want to go through these real quick? Since it looks like we've got time. Suzanne?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking everybody.
I was, but you're okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oops, hold on, we'll go through a half dozen or so of them. Oh, that doesn't look good. Wow, that's interesting, Suzanne. That's cool.
Thanks. And right in on his eyeball there.
So that's amazing, the depth of field you got on that. I mean, it goes from sharp to blurred almost instantaneously. Cool.
Yeah, I might have had it at 2.8 for that one. I can't remember now.
I don't know why that does it on my screen like that. Nope, I didn't mean to do that. Let's see. Tell me if there's any here in particular that.
Yeah, Jim, you know what that is? When you're pulling, you must be pressing down on your mouse when it's like you're trying to copy everything. It's like when you want to copy something, you press down on you left click and hold
Understood.
it down.
Thank you. Yep, thank you.
Okay, right.
well, that was good.
I picked this one just because it's different looking.
Can you see his face is way down at the end of the photo there? It's underwater.
Now, unfortunately,
That's
this
the
is not
pelican.
responding to me as far as, let me go back to it. Huh. No, I can't click it large. Sorry. I don't know what's going on. Okay, I'm sorry, Suzanne. Tell us about this one.
Well, his beak is underwater, so it reaches all the way to the end of the photo there underwater. See, right?
This
Yeah,
isn't the beak here, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
That's
that's
cool.
the pelican.
Oh my God, that's huge.
I know. I did a double take too when I looked at that. I thought, is that him under there? But I'm pretty sure it is.
That's interesting looking. Flamingos. I cannot get this to expand. I don't know why. I like the two pelicans together.
Well, it might be better that way, then you can't see the noise.
Uh,
Aw,
Yeah, he was a real cutie. I have a bunch more of them too. I haven't quite finished yet.
I like this one, Suzanne. That's nice.
Thanks.
You got some good wing action going on. And there's the tracks. Oh, that's nice. Got them in flight.
good.
Yeah, I tried. Did you guys have trouble like with the getting some blowout on the highlights. It seemed like it was so sunny. And with the bird feathers, I always have trouble with that.
With the penguins, it was almost impossible to keep everything properly exposed, yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of trouble.
Oh, that's cool. I love all the patterns in the water.
Yeah, I wish this guy wasn't in the photo. But that's,
Yeah.
Well,
Or all of them.
I thought about it, and then, but I like the black. I think that's his black reflection there.
here,
If I
probably.
would have taken him out, but I could try it without him too.
Well, no, I'm not suggesting you take it out.
Well, I could try.
I think I would have liked it better had you had either him out of that one in the background, either out of there or all of it, all of the flamingo in there.
Yeah, I think he wasn't in the photo entirely, so I couldn't leave him in, but I could take him out.
What type of bird's this?
I don't know, but sure is pretty.
That's pretty scary.
Try this again. Is the egret got something in its mouth there?
Yep, mealworm.
It's a mealworm.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought that was funny because of the little boy's hand there.
That's cute.
That's a young one.
Nice, Suzanne. Okay, let's go find some people who want critiqued. Hey, Carl, thanks for the comment on my February Photographer's Choice photo.
Not allowed to do that.
Marty's already chastised him.
No comment.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Oh, Annie, did we critique this?
I don't know. Did you?
Oh, well,
No, we
okay.
did not.
Well,
No.
so we might have passed it by since you weren't at the last meeting. So we'll go ahead and put this one up. Okay, Annie, do you want to tell us a little bit about the photo first?
I like the way the flowers were just like the leaves on them are different, even though it's the same flower. And I guess Rex liked it too because he has the same composition pretty much that I did.
I was going to say, take a look at the time in the metadata. I was looking to see which one of us took it first.
I don't know, but we both hit the same flower, the same exact one. Of all the flowers in there, you and I both.
And the same composition.
Yep.
All I can say is great minds think alike.
Yep. And I forget, somebody said something to me about the white dot on the bottom flower on the end of the stamen, but that was part of the flower.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on Rex's too. So but
yeah.
I just like the way the leaves were on those two flowers. They just really spoke to me. And then mine, Rex did his a little bit more subtle. I did mine a little bit more on the brightened up the colors a little bit. I wanted them
Saturated.
saturated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any comments?
They're great.
Love the composition. I love the lighting.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say.
I thought it was what attracted me. I thought it was graceful looking.
Yeah.
The
I tried
curves
it
keep leading you to different things.
Mhm. I tried it in black and white, and I decided I liked it in the color better.
Yeah. I definitely like mine in the color, and I was, whenever I was doing them, and I liked the way the light was hitting the leaves on there. And like I said, I just liked how the bottom one just had a little bit more of a, almost looked like it was flying away with the the, on there.
Well, Rex, getting back to your comment about possibility doing black and white. I don't know what your exposure was, but on Annie's here, other than the little bit of the bright and the red, I don't think there's enough contrast for good black and white in this. Do you think?
I agree. That's really what I saw when I tried it in black and white. It didn't have the pizzazz that it had with color. Maybe if Dennis Yates had done some magic on it, he might have made it look a lot better, but I didn't think it had it. That's why I left it in color.
Comments? All right, nice, Annie.
Thank you. That's one I'm going to print.
Yeah, good choice.
Yeah,
There's Rex's version.
yeah, that was
Oh, yeah.
less contrast in there.
Okay, if we get to the bottom of the January choices here, and we don't see any more critiques, we'll start the January photos. Let's see, here's one. I forget Todd Hunter's, what's Todd's first name? Is it Todd Hunter? Is the last name? He's not on the call. So
Jared.
Pardon me?
I think it's Jared Todd
Jared,
Hunter.
okay, since he's not on the call, I don't think we're gonna bother critiquing. Here's one. Beth, have we did this one.
Yes, we did. that.
Yeah, we did that one.
Yeah. Okay, which means we'll just go ahead and do, because, well, let's just go down to the bottom of January here, see if there's any others.
Think, no, there's only a couple before my
And
weeds
we
one.
did Alan's ducks before, so we're going to do the January photos. Get you guys out of the way here. Oops. Okay, looks like Annie's the first one here. We'll start with this one. And I'll tell you what, those of you who have multiple photos, we'll do one each, and then so we make sure we get through everybody's. So Annie, do you have more than one in this contest?
No,
Okay, so we'll do this one. This is from FIPS 2, I assume?
yes.
Someone started off. Well, since I don't hear anybody, I'll just, so obviously the flower upper left, it's not in focus, but it balances the photo and it's probably not meant to be in focus. So
Correct.
the bottom right, and the colors are really nice. I like the yellows and oranges or orangish red. It really complements each other. Did you artificially light this at all, Annie, or just
Nope.
natural light?
Just natural light.
Yeah.
Those flowers are about 1 inch across.
Okay. If it were my photo, I probably would have tried to increase the exposure a little bit down at this petal here, if you will.
Okay.
Just it's fading dark to me. It seems like and now maybe if you did that, it would look fake. I don't know, because obviously it's underturned. The light's coming from up above, so maybe it shouldn't be lit up any more than it is. But I might try pulling the shadows up a little bit if it was mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was too much pop for too little support.
Okay. What do you mean by too much
Because
pop for too little support?
There's nothing holding them up. They appear and there's just these dark things around them.
They're like flying flowers.
Well, the stem is right behind between them, so I don't know.
Yeah, it just, but it doesn't really show up that well.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want it to.
Yeah. Yeah. well, that's-
So, no, my focus was more on the flowers themselves, and I just kind of wanted to leave the background darker the way it was. I was kind of looking for a little bit of drama. Trying something a little different for me. Trying to go with the darken the back, making sure the background was darker and the flowers were the main subject.
Any other comments?
I like it. I like the coloring. The only thing I probably would have chose to do is that the little light on top of that big black stem in the middle. I would have toned that down because it's making my eye look there and it's taking it away from the flowers.
Okay. I kind of missed that spot.
That and I'm pointing at it. Down where that green stem is, and then you have a stem that looks like it's shooting back to a back flower.
Say that
would-
again, Marty. I don't know where to point.
Where your cursor is, to the left. Yeah, right there. That thing there. I know
What-
it's stem, but it's bothering me. I don't know if you
This is,
darken. Yeah, I don't know if you could darken it or feather the edges a little bit to just kind of blend it in a little bit better.
Okay.
It's distracting. To me anyways.
Okay, no.
But I like the color. The pop of the orange and the yellow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what drew my eye to them to take the photos of them to begin with, was that they were orange and yellow. Something a little bit different.
anybody else? All right, we'll move on. Beth, do you have more than one here?
Yeah, and not the trophy one. I mean, unless somebody really wants to, but
No, but I tell you what, just tell me, where was this?
when my parents cleaned out their house, I brought some of the stuff down here. And one of the things I brought were all my high school trophies. And this is the top of my 2-sport trophy because I ran track.
Ah,
And I just kind of played in Photoshop.
so was this high school?
Yeah.
So they could not afford uniforms?
Oh, we did, but this is just the trophy, which it looks like it's got shorts on, actually.
Okay, you say so.
Well, it was the 80s, so it was like shorts anyway.
All right, so Rex, I
Yeah.
know there's been a lot of discussion around the colors and the color space that was used for you when you created your JPEG. So for those people who were not participating in those discussions, we can certainly eventually critique the photo itself, but would you first just kind of give us a short summary of what you went through as far as why the colors didn't show up here?
Well, this is right here is the whole list of things that I did. One of the issues, I think one of the things that I've discovered, at least on my monitor, is when I see it come up in Reddit, I have one contrast and it looks peaked like it does really now. But when I clicked on it to look at it in the inspection size, it looked good. It just got a whole lot more saturated, and that and the magnified version of it all held the color properly. So I went back, I spent probably a whole day going back and forth trying to figure out what I can do. I reread the whole thing on the camera. The Canon itself, the 5D, and probably the similar versions have choices, Adobe RGB and just
sRGB. and
sRGB.
ProPhoto.
Yeah, and if you're shooting, what I discovered is if you're shooting in RAW, which I always do, everything I shoot in RAW. It doesn't matter. Where it matters is in Lightroom. When you're in Lightroom, those preferences that you choose are the ones that determine what it's going to look like when it gets in there. So you can choose you can choose to use what the camera gives you, or I think you can choose something else, and I can't remember what it is right now because I really wasn't prepared for it. But what I found is that if you just use the sRGB, that it even comes into, in my system, it even comes into Reddit looking okay. And then it also looks good in the inspection windows, the ones where you click on it to get a good full view of it, and then the magnified view that you can move back and forth and study it even more closely. So that was my issue, and I finally discovered if I just set Lightroom to handle it like an sRGB, it's okay. So that's the long story right there.
Okay, good. Thanks, Rex. So
Yeah.
Let's critique your flower.
Yeah, I think the composition was very much the same as Annie's. I looked down in the lower right-hand corner. There's a little more detail showing there, the purple flowers and the angles that they're at. Somehow it looked a little bit different. I might have been shooting from a slightly higher angle of view down compared to the one that she did. But there was a little more background showing in this one too. But I don't think that it had the saturation that hers had.
I like them both. I think this one looks more like a painting than the other one. It's
No,
just
thank
it's
you.
totally different. Same picture and totally different.
Mhm.
Well, Rex, since Linda mentioned that, it does look like a painting. Did you do anything like a minus clarity or a blur on it, or to soften it, if you will?
No, my goal was to try to maintain as much sharpness as I could. I did go in very close and look at little black specks and white specks, and there were a couple edges that were kind of cut, and I smoothed them. I just used a Photoshop to put back some edges that weren't there. I think it was from age. They just started to get old and curl under, getting dried up. And what I did is I just refreshed them. So some of those edges were starting to get crinkly, and I just smoothed them out.
Okay. Any other comments?
I put a frame around it. I like to do that. Long time ago, I heard your photograph isn't finished until it's where it's going to live, and it lives in its frame. So I always put a frame around them. I try. I don't always, but this particular case I did. I do have some that I've turned into canvas prints, of which I have on the wall in the living room, and they're not framed. They just have they're canvas wraps is what they are.
Okay, any other comments?
Nope, I like your version too.
Hey, thanks.
It's like I said, you can see on that bottom flower on the end of the stamen there is that white spot that somebody else told me that bothered them,
Yeah,
but it's there. It's just part of the flower.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rex.
okay.
So Beth, getting back to you, you have this and another one?
I have this one and then I have winter weeds. I'd rather do winter weeds, I think.
That's further down here somewhere.
Yeah.
We had a lot of entries last month.
Mm-hmm.
Holy heck. I forgot how
That
many
one.
were. Okay, let me take a guess. A lens baby.
Oh, yeah. Actually, it's possible that all three were, well, no, the trophy one wasn't, but the other two both were.
I'm going to start with a question. The background, the bokeh is, it's really mesmerizing. It's like, I don't even want to look at the flowers. I want to look at the background. What did you do? How did that get the way it looks?
Well, the way it looks on here, it's just pixelated because it's a small file and it's being shown really big. I think that's mostly just JPEG compression type.
Well, but
stuff.
the various grays and getting closer to darks, it just, the way it all blends. What was in the background?
Basically just frozen Mammoth Lake, I think. Because this is, Nate and I went up to Mammoth one day and the lake was still mostly frozen. And there's that one spot where the land sticks out into the lake.
Yeah, there's a little peninsula.
And these are weeds that are on the edge of that. So they were right by the shore. And the background is just frozen gray lake. It was cloudy and just kind of sort of, as far as lighting, which was nice, actually.
Okay. And then I got another question for you, and then I'll let other people talk, but this is just a question. Is it the lens baby that, like, the white petals here have like a light gray glow around them, like individually?
Yeah,
Is
That's
that
the
a lens issue?
yeah, that's the lens. That's the glow from the velvet, because this is probably at f either 4 or 2.8. So the farther you open it up, the more glow you get,
Okay.
and the less
Interesting.
focus.
All right, any other comments?
No, I think it's beautiful.
I love the softness of it. It's really good.
Nice.
I just like it.
I like the composition. Nice composition. It
Yeah.
lays out well.
Nothing else? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. That's cool, Beth. Okay, so I'm gonna have to skip back up here so we don't. So there, we're there. Suzanne, did this one end up winning?
No,
No? Okay.
I don't
Do you
think
have more than one in here that you want to be critiqued?
well, how about if we do the cherubs just out of curiosity? It's like after the waterfall one.
This one here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to see what people thought.
Whoa. This was at Phipps.
Yes,
Did you use a lens baby on that?
yes. Yeah.
Was this the same one that Clay was working on when we were talking?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I went over there to see what he was seeing. I don't think I saw what he was seeing, but I just tried to do something a little different with it.
So
Yeah, I think he said even from the side, it looked like he was looking at him.
Yeah, maybe if I would have shifted where I was, but I tried to get the other one in a little bit. You can't really see the face of the other cherub because, well, it was dark to begin with, and then,
is it looking down here?
yeah,
I see that.
yes,
Okay.
down. So, and then I thought, well, just concentrate on the face of the other one, but I didn't know if this worked at all or not. Just
Suzanne, I
experiment.
remember when I first saw this photo, this part looks cool. And then it's like I was looking and looking, trying to figure out what was here. And to be honest, the first time I looked at it, I didn't see the arm here. I had no idea what this was.
And I agree with you. I was going to say I could see the face of the cherub on the left, but I had no idea what the thing was on the right whenever I looked at it. I think it was just a little bit too soft for me to tell. I like the concept of what you were going for, but and I could see the cherub, like you said, but he was, I don't know if it's my computer, but he looks a little bit blown out too. So I know that the lens baby does a softer effect on it, but to me, it's just a little bit too soft that can't see enough details.
And if this is not blown out, at least on my screen, you can see the detail here. If that's
Okay.
what you're talking.
But then it must be, that's why I said it might be my screen,
Yeah, it's not blown out.
but it looks like it. Okay, move my screen a little bit.
Probably what would have worked better if I would have had some detail, a little bit of detail in the face of the other one, and then you guys would have figured out what it was. Since I knew what it was, I guess it never occurred to me that somebody else might not know what it was. I see what you're saying. That's a point well taken. Thanks.
Through, they're gonna do everything, for an hour, they're going to contracts.
Hold on.
Anybody else? All right. Well, by the way, Suzanne, that your flower one that we skipped, I thought was awesome.
Oh, thank you.
So Linda, did you have more than one entry?
I did, but let's do this one.
This one? Okay.
Yeah.
Would you tell us a little bit about the photo?
It was just an afternoon where there was still some ice left. I guess I can't remember if it was really cold and that was what was left or what. I know I used my 40mm lens, and I think I did I think I stacked photos on this, and I had never done that before, but I'm pretty sure I did.
You focus stacked?
In Lightroom where it says stacked. So I think
that means something different. I think that means something different in Lightroom.
Yeah.
Uh,
like there were 3 or 4 photos.
Yeah, I think that means you stack them up so that when you look at the picture showing across the bottom of the screen, all three pictures are under one picture.
Okay,
It-
okay.
it-
I
it-
didn't
it-
know.
it helps group pictures. It doesn't do anything to the pictures themselves.
Okay,
Oh,
I had no idea.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
I
use
think-
it I use it all the time when I do a couple versions of one photo. I stack them so they're all together. So I know. I don't get
Okay,
confused.
okay.
Okay, Linda, I think you're talking about the technique that's called focus stacking.
And where do you do that at?
Well, like for example, I know that Brian's camera has the capability of setting the camera so that it will do the operation. But what it does is you set the camera up for the exposure, and most likely you're on a tripod to really do it right. And then it will take a sequence of pictures by changing the focus in small increments that you set. And then you would otherwise, instead of getting a photograph with a depth of field that's very thin, you'll get it sharp from the very first frame till what you saw in the very last frame.
Gotcha.
Rex, coincidentally, March's monthly meeting is a discussion about focus stacking. So
Well,
that's a
good.
lead in.
Rex,
Well, so
Rex,
let's get back to
time out.
Linda's photo.
Yeah,
Rex,
yes.
her camera won't do that. She has a D500. It takes a D850 in order to take the stack inside the camera.
Okay,
Okay.
What Linda would need to do with the D500 is take the individually herself and then combine them.
okay.
Well, I didn't mean to detract from what
That's
we're doing,
okay.
but
That's okay.
I just wanted to explain that is two different things.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I
So,
learned something every meeting.
so any critiques on Linda's photo?
I love it. I like the squiggly lines and the ice hanging on it. I like the composition of it. I like how the lines lead you in and out of the photo. And I like it in black and white.
It strikes me as modern art. That's the category I would put it in, just off the top. I would put it in the modern art category because the shapes and subject matter just allows you to think of all kinds of things. You know, not any one particular thing. It's however it strikes you. So I put it in what I call the modern art category.
I would just recommend possibly pulling it up from the bottom a little bit more,
Okay,
only because if you want to frame it,
you're gonna lose that.
I'm afraid you would. Yeah.
Would you have cropped the right where that twig is, or would you leave that in?
Take
Yeah,
about
that
half
guy.
of it out.
No, I would probably get rid of it.
Okay.
I don't
And,
know
and
if I
yeah,
would.
Melissa's right. As far as if you decided that you wanted to print that and you wanted to frame it, you would definitely lose part of the bottom
Yeah.
of that.
I don't think I would have cropped that twig out. I'm kind of one to leave things like that in, and especially going with the other dark that is right behind it.
Okay.
I think it adds like the law of threes, kind of. You've got your twig that is actually the twig. Then you have a dark line going behind it. And then you kind of have that off to the side. They're not symmetrical, but at the same time, they're going in the same direction. And it kind of gives a background to it.
Okay.
Melissa, I'm with you 100% in this case. If that twig isn't there, it's one big white blob over here.
Yeah.
So the vertical third, if you divided it into thirds vertically, that right third could actually be eliminated and you'd still have a vertical rectangle that looks good.
Well,
Just
are you saying
bring-
like crop down through here, Rex?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
This gets a little close to the edge of the frame, so, but I mean, that's a possibility, yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to crop it there and like I said, bump it up a little bit, then I would probably edit out a little piece of that if it's only a little piece in the corner. But I like it, like I said, I would bump up the picture just a little bit so that if you printed it, you have space there. But I like having those two lines in the background. It kind of contrasts and goes with the actual twig of it.
And the fact they're diagonals, Melissa, helps it as well.
Yeah, they're all kind of going, it's not like, that's what I was trying to say, perfect in that angle, but they go with it.
So Linda, if you did want to print this for whatever reason, and I don't know if you know how to do this or not, and I don't know if it would work, but you could put the photo down on top of a white blank canvas, if you will, behind it, and print it. So in effect, you're putting a border around the print.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that might be the bottom of the print. I'm not positive. I have to go back and look, but I think that's probably the bottom of the picture.
Well, what I'm saying is you could artificially make it
Right.
using a white border. You could enlarge the photo so that this thing, when you did mat it, isn't at the very bottom like
At
it
the
is
bottom.
now.
Or if you have Photoshop, you can extend the bottom of the picture.
Oh, all right.
And in this
Yeah,
kind of
like-
picture, I think if you extend in Photoshop, if you were to extend the bottom, your background's not in focus. So it's not going to take away from anything of your picture.
Gotcha.
But I think Jim's right. If she just put a border around it and then whenever it would be framed with the mat on it, then you would leave part of the border around it and then it would not detract anything from it.
Okay.
Any other comments? on
Hey,
the
what do I
photo?
know about that?
Any other comments on the photo? That's nice, Linda.
Thank you.
Very interesting.
Okay, so, all right. Alan, do you have more than one in this one?
No, that's the only one.
That the only one? Okay.
This was just one of them days when there wasn't anything else to photograph.
Well, you found a very photogenic leaf.
It was the only one I could find.
For being so late in the season, that's in really good shape too.
Yeah. Well, not only the shape, but the color itself as well. It's
Yeah. I like the little hint of water on it.
Yeah, I saw
The
that
one
too.
thing that sticks off on the right,
a little bit there. Yeah.
the one that I don't know, blade, whatever, off on the right, there's a drop that's just starting to hang there.
That's what it looks like.
You'd-
Yeah.
If you'd waited long enough, you might have had just a drop hanging off that one, which would be really cool, but it might have taken a while. But it pops really well against the background, which is nicely out of focus.
Yeah. It jumps right out at you.
This
Well,
is
Alan, I
another one of
gotta ask you,
them.
because I know your recent duck photos, you took using like a 100 to 400 millimeter lens with an extender on it, and you must have been like 200 yards away from the duck when you took it. I'm curious, what did you use with this one?
Actually, I use the same lens. It's a 500 PF with a 1.4 converter.
Okay.
And the lowest f-stop I can go to is an 8.
Oh, wow. Well, that'd be the only way to get that depth of field then. If f8 was the best you could do.
I'm afraid to ask, were you hand holding that?
I'm going to guess I was, because I don't really carry a tripod with me too often.
Wow. That's good. That's steady. It's a marksman.
Yeah.
That goes back to my shooting days.
Uh,
And the square crop is perfect for this leaf too, I think.
Yeah. Really like the colors.
I use an auto ISO, and I can basically just put my shutter speed at whatever I want. Runs in my mind, this one was up around 500th of a second.
Well, shooting handhold, you'd have to get up to that shutter speed, or down to that shutter speed, if you will, to get it that sharp.
Actually, I have to walk back and forth. I set my lens on the minimum focal distance, and I have to walk back and forth to get the focus.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, you move the whole camera to focus instead of using the focus ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Really nice work.
Thank you.
Okay, there's another, we did a Linda, another Linda. Did Bob join? I didn't see him early on. Bob, are you there? Nope. Marty, do you have more than one in here?
I don't
I'm sorry,
know. That's the only one I
that's
put
the only
on.
one?
Yeah. And I can tell you, it was freezing cold. Parts. And I looked out and I could see snowflake, like the individual, like that's why I took it. Nothing else is special about it.
Yeah, I can see the
There's
shape.
one,
Those are
that one
cool.
there really jumped out at me.
Gum.
Mm-hmm.
The top. But what like I had it, I brought that one, that's just on my iPhone because my camera wouldn't even capture it. I didn't have the right lens on. That's a cell phone photo. And what it was I have a dog chain out on the porch and it left those little rectangular marks, and I just cropped it down so you could see the snowflakes. But yeah, nothing special. I just put one in there so I had one in there.
Is there a reason you have the 4:1 or whatever aspect ratio it is on there?
No, I just cropped it on my cell phone. Who knows what's on it?
Oh, okay.
No, this is kind of I can see a snowflake thing. As good as I can do.
Yeah, that kind too, yeah.
I don't do snowflakes well. I do. If,
You have a little
comments?
competition.
I do.
Any comments? Well, so I asked it as a question, Marty. There's a lot of cases where you would want to use an aspect ratio similar to this, whether it's portrait or landscape. But for what you have in the image, I don't think that aspect ratio adds anything to the photo. Because there's nothing there that like asks for it to be long and extended like that. So that's why I asked initially, but I think that's what bothers me about the photo is the aspect ratio. I know that sounds silly, but.
Yeah, I understand. The larger photo had, I just cropped it in on the sides. It just had another empty spot, but it didn't have any snowflake in it. And I was trying to just get that snowflake up at the top there. There was a couple that you could see at the top of the photo.
Well, there's more individuals here, so
Right.
I'd be more prone to, that's my photo.
Yeah,
It's either from there up or from there down, but not
like I
down
said,
and up.
it was probably like, I only had minutes to put that on there.
Okay. You were right at 11:59 PM, huh?
Something like that, yeah. Sorry, I have lots of background stuff going on here.
Any other comments? All righty. Help me remember, we'll stop at, well, actually, Brian and Beth, it's almost 8:15. How much time do you need?
I can probably do 10 to 15 minutes, maybe. If you want to do it and then come back and do more critiquing, we can do that, or
Well, that might be a good idea. Why don't we do that, Beth? Because I
Okay.
don't want to take up all the time and then you and Brian not have any time left. All right, I'm going to stop my share. And if we do have time to come back, we've got a couple from Brian and one of me.
Ryan is the winner. But he and Rex were tied, so Ryan's only the winner because he got the first vote.
Marty, would you say that again?
I said Brian and Rex were tied on the January photo contest. But Brian's the winner because he got the very first vote.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What, and boy, it's not like I've read the rules recently, but in the back of my mind, did they each, I assume they each had more than one vote, right?
Yes, they both had two.
They had two. In that case, I thought it was the first person that got to 2 votes.
Oh, well, I'll have to look and see. I still think it's Brian.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Yeah, they're both going in the newsletter, but
All right. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to stop my share.
Okay, I concede. I concede.
oh, you don't have to concede. They were both good photos.
Better luck next time, Rex.
No, they were good.
okay, Brian, if you're, I know Brian's muted, so I don't know. If
He was there a second ago. I saw his.
Yeah, go ahead, Beth, because
want me to go first.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm
This-
not really feeling well.
Okay. This will be my first time sharing my screen from having multiple things, having multiple screens. So, aha, ooh, all right, let's see. This might work. We'll see. Come on. I'll get there. Hold on. Because it's been so long. Huh? Why is it? Okay, I have no idea what that was. I'm going to try this again. Desktop 2, share. Okay. It's going to take me a sec. All right. Basically, all right, can everybody see a box that says recents, and it's a finder box, like it's got a whole bunch of lists of stuff?
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. This is basically how my hard drive is arranged. I've got, I have my iCloud account, so that's stuff that's in there. My pictures are not in my iCloud account because I don't feel like trying to pay for like 4 terabytes of iCloud. So when I download my pictures from my camera, which is plugged in, I turn the camera on and it will show up here. And so all I do is my camera makes folders based on the date. So whatever I take on that day gets that folder. So all I usually do is do copy. I go to here, I go to the year, and I click paste. And it takes about, I don't know, I think it's about a minute to do 2 gigs of stuff. And I only took like 10 pictures just because. And then I also, at the same time, copy all of those files to an external drive that's hooked up to it. Because that's so at least I have all of my raw files backed up, which yes, that has saved my butt a couple of times. And then I will also usually check to make sure that everything is actually there and there's no like weird half frames or something bizarre, because that's happened before. And I'll just randomly check those, and then I'll randomly check these, make sure everything has the same number of files between the two. And then once I'm back in here, then I eject the camera. And then once it is done blinking and everything, then what I will do is go into images on it and reformat the card in the camera. So I hardly ever take any of the SD cards out of my camera, unless for some reason I'm having a major problem with it. So then, once I have everything in, then I open up ON1 Photo Raw. Which is not always the fastest at opening, but it's not too bad. And you can see in here, because I've cataloged everything, you don't have to import things like you do with Lightroom. Once you tell it that you want to catalog a certain folder, it will keep track of everything that's in that folder. So when I first started up this version, downloaded this version, I told it to catalog my pictures folder. So everything within pictures is all cataloged. So it's easy to get to them all from here. So if I wanted to, I can go here and see all of this is just what's on this hard drive. And I can pick out what year I want, whichever. So then I'll go into the one I just did, and I'll bring it up so that it's kind of big. And I just scroll through them and use the stars to say whether I like it, don't like it, etc. Like this one's better, kind of, than that one. These are just flowers that are sitting on the kitchen table. And like this one's a little bit better, so I might give that one 1 star because I might play with that a little bit. I kind of like that one, but it's dark. Who knows? That one's kind of mysterious. Same. That one's got a big blob of white on the right. That one's better. It's not great. And that one, these two, I think I was taking them to try to sandwich them. They're handheld, but they're focused at different points. You can see this one's focused right around the what's left of the pistils and stamen, and this one's focused back here. So then once I've decided which ones I might want to work on, then I just go back to here, and then at some point I'll get around to editing them. And that's, so like, I don't know if you want me to go through. This is how ON1 has things set up. You click edit and you can, it's all the usual sliders for everything. And this one, I'm gonna brighten it up just a little bit, and I'll show you what I can do for textures, because that's what I do a lot. I also have over here, I usually leave it so that black and white is showing, and I can just hover and see how the image looks in black and white, which can sometimes tell you a lot about like the balance and things like that.
Beth, since you're showing the textures, just for those who aren't familiar with ON1, I'll just mention that ON1 is a happy medium, a very good medium between using Lightroom and Photoshop. ON1 can do what both Lightroom and Photoshop can do in most situations.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good way of describing it. And this folder of textures are all ones that I created. And it's actually in ON1, it's really easy to add your own textures. All right, just cause I'll click on that one, and you can, because you can then play with that. You've got the opacity, you can change the mode. And you also have blending options. And you can go through all the usual from ordinary to kind of strange and stranger. And then usually just pick normal and go on from there. You can flip them around. It doesn't show as much with this texture that I picked, but you can rotate it. And if you decide in the end that you don't like it, you can get rid of it using the X, or you can just see if that works or not. You can use a mask. So you can mask off like some sections of it. I think it's the opacity on my brush is kind of low right now, but you can still get the idea. You can But usually when I first open up an image, I don't necessarily go all the way to textures and stuff. I usually just fix the exposure, maybe make certain areas pop, others not as much. And then I let them sit for a little while before I really do a lot of stuff. In ON1, I can also, if I right click, I can create a version, which makes another version that's just like the other one from whatever point I'm at. So if I've already done some editing, then it'll put all of those edits into the version that it makes. So that's usually what I do if I know I'm going to play with something, so that I still have the original start point and I can just go on from that. Because if you make all of the edits in one particular file and then you want to do something completely different, you lose those edits, which is one thing I don't really like. I think there's a way to do a snapshot thing now to be able to have versions within it, but I've found it a lot easier just to create a new version from the start and work on it that way. And then once I've gotten what I want to get, then I export the image as a JPEG. And I used to only do small ones, just if I'm going to throw them up on the web or something. But now I'm saving full versions and a smaller version, because when my last computer crashed, I lost a lot of the edits. So I only have the small versions of a lot of those. Boo hiss. So are there any questions?
So does it destroy your original, or does it keep like a copy of the one that you're editing, or how does that?
The original raw file isn't touched at all. The way ON1 works kind of like Lightroom in that it does non-destructive edits. So it keeps track of what you're doing and what you're telling it you want done, so that when you then do either print it or share it or export it, that's when it applies them to that file. But your original raw file is still there and not touched.
Oh, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Keywords, do you have a keyword search capability?
Well,
Let me say that again, capability. Yeah.
yeah, for a while I was putting keywords in religiously, like every photo and every folder, and
Oh.
and then I couldn't search it that well in that version of ON1. So I got out of the habit, and then they've supposedly made it a lot better, but I haven't been using it. So that's one thing I should do, but I haven't been.
Well, like for example, when you're bringing new images in, if you have, and they're all flowers, so that you use the general keyword, I know in Lightroom, you can add keywords as you bring images in from your camera. So like, for example, if it was, and a simple way to do it in this scenario is if all you had taken were pictures of flowers, you could type in the word flowers and every one of those images would have the keyword flowers in them. Or if they were orchids, they would say orchids.
I can sort of do that in here. Like I highlight this one, and if I select, I'm shifting and clicking to select all of them. And then I can do add a keyword.
Oh, okay. There you go. You got it. Yeah.
Or Because these are, you can see up here, it shows you what lens you used.
Mm-hmm.
And on my camera, when I turn it on, if it's a
Really?
lens that doesn't automatically connect, like something with no electronics, like the Lens Babies, I can put in what focal length it is. And I know that 55 is my Velvet 56. So
Okay.
I can, in keywords, I can put and things like that. And they've added AI keywords. There's a lot more AI stuff in this version than in previous ones, but I haven't really played with that. And I don't know how well this version works with keywords.
Hmm.
So I know the older version where I was putting them in all the time, I still couldn't search by it. If I was in that folder, I could, but if I was like out at this level, I couldn't search by keyword.
Oh, you mean if you had a mixed bag of images from all over the place, you could not just type in a keyword, you know, for say plants or something like that. And then even if there were cars and airplanes and homes and highways, that it would just draw out everything that said plants previously.
No, I wasn't able to do that before. I think it can do that now, but I haven't been playing with it. And my old keywords, I'm pretty sure that I lost all of that because those were only within ON1 and on the old computer that crashed.
Okay.
So Beth, like in as you're talking here, your example is you've got one of your folders highlighted.
Yeah.
With just that folder highlighted, if you did a keyword search, you're just going to find photos in that folder that have that keyword. I think what you need to do is to back out and go one step higher, if you will, in the hierarchy, and then do your search.
I don't know. I haven't played with it.
Well, you know, we each of us develop a way of using the systems that we have, and we get the most out of it.
Yeah.
Every one of us are using. If you have 15 people using Lightroom, all 15 will use keywords and other features a completely different way.
Yeah.
Some use by the year, some by the date, some by the subject matter. It just depends on how the person is putting together their files. We had 20 years of photographing people and families, and so a lot of our keywords were names of people to
Right.
have the family.
So
So
each of the
entirely
different,
yeah.
yeah.
I have a question. The series of photos that you just went through and you starred certain ones, do you end up keeping all of the photos or do
Oh
you?
yeah, I don't delete
Okay.
anything
Okay.
ever. I don't delete things on my computer most of the time, and I don't delete things in my craft room either.
I'm in agreement.
I have gone back to things that I would have deleted them way back when, but I like them. Like 6 months later, I like them. So like yeah, I don't delete things. I don't know if I'd be able to find it. I have a shot that's like probably pushing 10 stops overexposed of snowy woods out back. And when I shot it, it was like, oh crap, I almost deleted it on the back of the camera even, which, I mean, anybody who's shot with me knows I don't delete stuff. But I didn't delete it, and I'm glad, because out of all of the stuff I shot that day, that's my favorite shot. If I can find it again, I'll post it on read it.
So you mean it had more detail in it than you thought?
No, and
No?
it's not like a classic fixable good shot. It's like it's a lens baby shot, and I didn't check what the exposure was, and it's just wicked blown out. But oh, there it is.
Hmm.
I mean, there's something about it that I like. So
You have any particular,
Jim?
do you have any particular order that you do your editing in?
not really, because ON1, as far as I know, just applies everything like when it does the export. So like I usually go through the exposure related stuff first and then start looking at some of the other stuff and color balance and like artistic intent. What do I want to do with this kind of stuff? That tends to come after I've maybe pulled up the shadows just a little bit, or like gotten rid of highlights, cloned out some dust if there's stuff on the sensor, things like that.
One other question. You said back in the beginning of your speech about you hardly ever take your card out of the camera.
Mhm.
Is that a bad thing? To take your
don't
card
know.
out?
Not that I know. Somebody told me a long time ago, and they may be right, may be wrong, that every time you do take the card out, that's a little bit of just physical pressure to the card.
Yeah,
and
where,
more wear and
yeah.
tear.
yeah. Yeah, how many pins? I think on a CF card, there are 21 pins. That means that in the card itself, there are 21 holes with a metallic point inside it somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's always exciting to think about what could happen after, 30 or 40 times of removing it.
Yeah. Well, I also don't really have if I take my card out, I think my computer's actually got an SD reader, but
Mhm.
when I put it back into my camera, I have to go through a whole bunch of take the batteries out, put them back in, and then turn it on for it to recognize the card.
Mhm.
I don't know why. That's just the way it is. So I just if I leave the card in, it's easy.
When I compare the SD card and its design to the CF card, I do like the SD card better because it looks like it's just a number of gold flashed flat contacts that contact something similar inside the camera. Whereas the camera has these 21 very fine pins that are sticking there waiting for the card to come into the camera. And I'm just thinking about when that card slides down those guides. So far, I've not had a problem in all these years, but it doesn't go without worrying about it.
Yeah.
I've had to fix a few pins in the camera before.
Oh, really? Wow. That's
straighten them up.
scary.
It's not a big deal.
No? Oh, wow.
As far as SD cards, I like to wash mine, so I make sure they're clean.
Wash it.
See, that's part of why I don't take mine out of the camera.
I do. I put them in my pants pocket. I wash my pants. They go through the washer, through the dryer, and then they're in my pants for the next time I go out to take pictures.
That's not how you format your SD card, man.
All right, Beth, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I got a fresh cough drop. I'm going to try to do my Lightroom version, maybe a limited version of it, but I'll show you how I do Lightroom.
Let me, there,
There you go.
you. Yes, I'm trying to get something out of the drawer to show you really quick. And I couldn't open the drawer because there's so much stuff in it. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is an SD card. That's, you can sort of see the inside of it,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. Yes, that's a bullet hole through it.
It's a good way to make sure that nothing gets taken off of it. All right, guys, let me go through some how I do Lightroom. I am not saying in any way, shape, or form this is the right or wrong way to do it. It's the way I do it. Okay. You guys see Lightroom?
Mhm.
With this stupid bar in the middle of the road where I don't want it. Always. I don't know why that bar goes there for me. It don't go there for you guys.
Mine was up top.
I don't know. I got to work on that. All right. So when I do Lightroom, I come home from wherever I'm at. I do take my card out of my camera because I have to wash it next. But I stick it into the card reader on my computer. And sometimes it does it automatically. It depends on how you have it set up. But I usually just stick it in there and I go over here to import. And it brings up it should bring up my pictures. Yeah, that's what's on there. Let me turn this off here real quick. So under file handling, there's a thing here that you can turn on and off that's called don't import suspected duplicates. That way you're not importing card after card. It's the same photos, but we're going to turn it off because I already have these imported. And we're not going to import all of them because there's 400 of them and I don't want to take that much time. So let me shut these all off. We're going to import, I don't know, half a dozen or so. We'll import those ones. So when I import my photos, I go over here on the right side, and this is where they're going to go. So my pictures are going to a 1 terabyte external hard drive. And if I open that drive up, you'll see there's 2020, 2021. I make a new year for each year. Under 2023, which is where we're at now, there's a FIPS folder, which is all these photos. That's the reason I don't want to import them again. And there's a WPS folder. So I'm going to select that WPS folder. And then if I want to make a folder in there, I can just right click on it and tell it to create a new folder. So I'm going to go into WPS. Here, I'm going to click on new folder. And this one's just going to be, I'll just name it something stupid for right now, but you can name your folder there. Hit create and then choose. And you'll see over here where that folder came in, WPS, and there's one here called Lightroom. So that's where they're going to go. At this point on my imports, you guys talked about keywords. I do keywords somewhere. Apply during import keywords. And what I do, the way I do these is I do just general keywords. So this would be FIPS, Pittsburgh, flowers. I know they're not all pictures of flowers, but at least put you in the same spot. Kind of like that. So those keywords there would be just general keywords for the shoot, where I was at. I put them in there. That will add those keywords to every picture that I import immediately. So then I don't have to worry about doing those later. So I'm going to import those. I put some keywords in. I don't do anything with file renaming in here. File handling, if you were going to save these, which I'm not with this, you were going to save these to a second copy. You can do that here to a different hard drive or something like that. I don't put my pictures on my computer hard drive. They always go on an external hard drive. I use pretty fast external hard drives. This is an SSD drive. So at that point, I just click import. And it's going to import those photos. And then they're going to show up over here. And see, there's a file there that says Lightroom. There we go. They're starting to come in now. Oh, come on. Oh, I forgot these are huge files. So as those come in, and like I said, on the left-hand side, these are all my shoot days, where the shoots are at. I don't worry about how they're ordered or anything like that. I date them sometimes. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I put a date on the front. Sometimes I don't do anything particular that way, because I can search my pictures by keyword. So I'm not too worried about that. And then you can do collections over here, which we've talked about in the past. I don't do too much with collections anymore, but I do them sometimes just to make it easy to find stuff. I should have picked one less row of photos, guys.
Brian, what size are your files?
46 megabytes.
Wow.
And remember, it's not putting them on the computer itself. It's moving them from a flash drive to a hard drive externally. So it takes a little bit longer. I have that set up to where it ejects the card. So the card's ejected now. At this point, I pull it out of my computer. I lay it on my desk, and in 2 months, when I want to take pictures, I go looking for the card again. But it's uploaded all those pictures into that file. There they are. And if I click on one of these pictures, you'll see over here, here's my keywords. The keywords are in there. At this point, I can go down through here. If I wanted the title and caption and all that kind of stuff, you can do that. I usually do that towards the end once I'm done and ready to go. But what I would do then with this is I would do, because I said before, like FIPS was 397 photos. So obviously I'm not going to take and work on all 397 photos. So what I do is I just double click on it and make them bigger. And I do what I call, or what's called calling. I use my arrow keys to move through them like this. And I use the letter P in Lightroom, which tells it to pick that file. Flag is picked. Pick that one. And I just look down through here and see what I got. I pick the ones that I like. And I go back and forth at stuff just to see if I got more than one version of something that I took. If I like it, don't like it. And this is how I would call through 400 images quickly. And I would hit the flag as picked. When I'm done with that, I go back to the regular library. And at this point, I come down here where it says filter, and I click 2 times on the little flag. That picks up, that will pull out all my picked pictures and leave all the ones that I didn't pick out. It doesn't show them at that point. And then what I do is I go back through them again. And this time I'm going to go through them and look at them a lot closer. And I'm going to add a star to them. And I usually just add a star to by hitting the number 1. Or you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But normally on this version, I go through and hit the number 1 on pictures that I really want to look at and work on. Then I come back down here. I go back into the grid and I filter out my 1-star pictures. Then I go back through again and usually do like a 2 or 3 star at this point. And anything better than 3 stars is the ones that I'm actually going to work on. So that's how I get through 400 photos at a time fairly quickly. Usually within a few minutes, I can go through 400 photos and pick out all the ones that I want to look at and work on. And then once that's done, I pick a picture and I go into develop mode. And then I start developing that picture based on what I think it should look like. Not what it is, like that picture right there, as you guys seen it, is black and white. that kind of stuff. And then I just start down through, and I don't, I know Alan asked the question, do you develop in any certain direction? Absolutely. I do not. They say you're supposed to start at the top and work your way down. I don't. I come in, usually one of the first things I'll do is lens correction. I turn these two things on.
Yeah. That's the first thing I do.
Yeah. It removes chromatic aberration or aberration, and does enables the profile corrections for the lens itself. So this particular photo was shot with a Nikon 85mm lens. So if that information is in there, it'll pull it automatically for you. And then after I've done that, I'll start usually up with the basic, and I start just fooling around with what I want it to look like. If I want it to be, what colors, what contrast, all that kind of stuff. And then I start bouncing around all through these other things to get the desired thing that I'm looking for. And you guys have seen me do brushes and all that, where I do like, 15 or 20 or 30 brushes on a picture and all that kind of stuff as I work on them. But that's pretty much the short and sweet of how I get into it. Cropping is always my last thing that I do. And recently I've been cropping more along the lines of a aspect ratio, like 4:3 or 16:9, and just working with that aspect ratio for the cropping.
And for me, cropping is probably last too.
Yeah, I think cropping, in my opinion, cropping should be the last thing you do, because I want to edit all the information that I have. I don't want to edit just part of it.
Yeah.
And then I want that very last thing, once I get it to look the way I want. Now, how do I want it to be presented? What size do I want it to be? What, how much of it should be there? What can be cut out? That kind of stuff. So I always crop last. Questions?
I was going to add a comment. I think it was Alan just said something about the order that you do the work in.
Yeah.
There, you don't see it, but you have to kind of know it's there. If you put the cursor in that panel and right click on it, it comes up with a custom. Just right click on it there, and you'll see you can reset the order that you want the order of things to be done in. Like I do have a particular order that I like, and so I have reset it. Now, you don't get that reset order until you go out and come back in, but you can set it for the next time that you use Lightroom.
Okay. Yeah, see, I don't follow any order for any picture. And I bounce around a lot. So if let's go back out to the library and go into actual FIPS.
Well, the reason I do it is there are certain things that I like to know are going to get done first. I always like to get the aberrations taken care of first. So I put that high on the list.
Yeah. So if we look at, let's look at this picture. This picture here, if you look at my development of it, this is all camera stuff here, because I shot that in monochrome on my camera to see what it would look like. But I started with contrast, and then I did exposure, and then I did shadows and whites to blacks, exposure, texture, clarity, dehaze. Then I started cropping it all over the place because I couldn't figure out what I wanted to look like.
Yeah.
Then I did add objects. I don't know what that is. I did an add brush. Oh, I know what it was. I did some work on these stones down in here, on specific stones. Update highlights, update exposures, update saturation, crop again. I started cropping again. And then it went to Flickr. I published it over to Flickr. So you can see there's no order to the way I do it. It's just a matter of how I work it around to get what I want it to look like. Because I'll do contrast and then come back to contrast, and I'll do contrast and then I go down to HSL and do something in there, and then I'll go back up here and I'll change it all over again, because it isn't exactly what I want yet until I see what I'm looking for. No. Anyhow, that is how I do it. Like I said, any questions on my way?
Brian, I can ask this question to both you and Beth and anybody else that wants to contribute. Do you pay much attention to I'll call it the white and black point and the histogram at any point during your developing?
Well, look at that one. Did I? It depends on the picture and what I'm trying to do with the picture. This one's a little bit closer to where it should be. The histogram, I mean, I have some clipping because I have a pure black background. This one has a lot of black in it. And so, yeah, I do look at that. As I said, depends on what I'm doing as to whether or not I look at that, but I do consult that all the time as I'm working.
I sometimes look at my histogram, but I'm more likely to just look and see, do I have detail in the highlights, and is there too much black, like overall for the image? Because I don't really like blown highlights, but I don't really mind really dark shadows. So I tend to be more of a by feel rather than looking at the actual histogram.
One of the reasons I asked the question is I've got set up on my Capture One on import to automatically set the black and white point. So basically, those who aren't familiar with it, it basically automatically stretches the histogram from pure black to literally pure white. And now, because that kind of, in my mind anyway, kind of maximizes the contrast that's available in what you've captured. And then the next step I do is I'll do a before and after and determine whether the white point or the black point kind of, by setting it where I did, kind of ruined the photo, if you will, in some fashion. So I don't know if that's a reasonable approach or not, but I've been doing that for the last year or so.
I tried that a long time ago, but I got away from that because a lot of most of the time I'm trying an effect like this with the pure black. And if it came in and it didn't have the black in it, or, that stuff had already been moved, I probably wouldn't be happy with it to start with. So I'm moving that stuff so much in most of my pictures that I don't want it I don't want Lightroom to do any of that for me. I want to do it whenever I get to it.
Yeah.
But anyhow.
I see.
Oh, thank you. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, is that Beth showing us a picture of herself again?
Yeah.
Just curious.
No. All
Yes, I
right.
finally figured out how to get it to do that. Because because my my webcam is on my laptop and my second screen is right behind it. So I have to like flip the cover down a little bit. So then you're looking at like my stomach or something instead of me. So that's why I keep turning my video off.
Okay.
And yes, that's the back of my Chamonix photographed with my K7, which was the digital that I had at the time. And the one that I'm using in the picture is actually my like almost 60-year-old Pentax H1A.
I have a K1000, I think. I'm not even sure where it is.
All right. So next time when we critique, I want you guys to critique the picture I just had up, that black and white
Your dancing
flower
orchids.
I have to tell you right now, it was beautiful. I
Yeah.
really loved it. It was
Thank you.
great.
I voted for it.
Thank you. Yeah, so I definitely want to hear what y'all have to say about that. So we'll critique that one next. And the other one that I had up there, which was the cactuses, that one actually did pretty, or I shouldn't say did pretty good. It got a comment on Flickr that was not amazing or anything like that, but it just got it. I don't you very often get comments on Flickr, but for some reason that one got a comment on Flickr, and I thought it turned out pretty good, that cactus. So
Yeah.
we'll
Good.
go
Did you
from
get your
there.
whatever that big thing is? Did you get your shot of that one yet?
I don't know yet. I did them couple for the contest, and then I haven't went back and looked at anything since then.
Yeah.
I've just been busy. But I will be revisiting those I will be visiting those, I should say, because I definitely want to. I definitely think I got a good shot of it this time. So
Just a reminder, we have the IHOP thing on Thursday, the 16th.
Oh, I was wondering about that. Okay. Because we have the swig at the end, right?
Right.
You said Thursday, what, the 16th?
this
Yes.
Thursday.
This Thursday.
Coming up. Coming up.
3
Are we
days.
gonna refer to this as IHOP or recross?
IHOP.
I won't be there after close.
Oh,
Okay.
All
Figure it out and get back to me.
right, guys.
We'll be
Okay.
in the other rooms.
Can we get the signs in here?
Yeah, the other room from the other side.
No one's in trouble, Dr. Palmer. I was just hoping not to have to explain this more than once.
Annie, mute yourself.
What?
is that what it was?
She's got the TV playing or something. I don't know. All right, guys. If there's nothing else, thank y'all for joining tonight. Beth, thank you. Jim, thank you. Thanks for filling in for me a little bit there tonight. I
Hope you
survived.
feel
but
better.
yeah, I'm hoping to.
Yep, get better, Brian.
All right, guys.
Take care, Brian. Thanks.
Yep. I'll see you guys all later. I'll get this posted either tonight or tomorrow.
Have a good night. Get well.
Good night.
Good night,
Thank
guys.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks,
know.
everybody.
Bye.
Get better, Brian.
No,
Night,
I'm
everybody.
trying to. All right, guys.